You're watching GAYBC News. My name is Brandon Carmody. We want to welcome our listeners in the United States and around the world. We have a special guest joining us today. We have Poison Waters. Check this out. Poison Waters is not just a personality. Poison is an experience. Now, whether dressed as Poison Waters or her alter ego, Kevin Cook, they're both captivating and one of a kind. Such a privilege to finally have you on the show. Thank you for joining us at GAYBC News.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I know we've tried to hook up many times in the past, not like that hookup, but trying to get together, and we just haven't been able to make our schedules work. I'm so pleased that we're able to meet up today.
Thank you. And I definitely see, I'm aware of you. I've met you a couple times, and I've seen you at least over the last 5 years, but we have quite a bit of Poison Waters history we're going to talk about today. But
yeah,
I just
there's a lot. There's a lot out there. I Google myself on occasion just to see what's being said, and I'm like, oh boy, I got a lot going on out there.
Well, there's a lot to be said for visibility and for presentation. But let me start here. My family and I moved to Oregon in 1990, so I've been here for 31 years. So I'm somewhat aware of what's happened in this town over the last 31 years. And I think that your timeline might run concurrently with mine. So I'm hoping there's some overlap there.
Oh, yeah. I came here in 1979. So I arrived just before you.
Well, okay. So let's do this. So there is a club called Darcel XV. And I understand you have a long-running relationship. I definitely would like to start there. First of all, can you please tell me about Darcel? And I would like folks to know that Darcel is the stage name of Walter W. Cole, a drag queen, entertainer, and cabaret performer from Portland, who holds the Guinness Book World Record as being, you guys ready for this? The oldest drag queen performer on the West Coast, spanning 55 years. Tell us about Darcel, would you please?
Yes, well, I am so proud to be the co-hostess at Darcel 15 in Old Town. We're actually the longest running drag show in the world, celebrating 54 years this year. Actually, it's 54 years. Yeah. And Darcel herself, her Guinness World Record her title, actually, Brandon, is, since it's the Guinness World Record, she is the world's oldest living, working drag queen. So she outlasted all the West Coast broads years ago. So she is the oldest working drag queen in the entire world. Yeah. The world. And I first met Darcel when the first year I started doing drag at an underage club. I ran and won for a pageant. Darcel was one of the dignitaries to greet the winners. And so we met there. And then a few years later, so in 1990, I first came to work at Darcel's for the first time. And I was the new kid on the block, and I thought Darcel was just the bee's knees and just so wise. And you know, now I'm 52 and he's 90. So back then, I was, I don't know how old I was. What does that make me? 21, 22, something. And he was, I thought he was old then, and I thought I was old. So now for us to have made it to 52 years old and 90 years old. So that's great. We've had a wonderful friendship and working relationship all these decades. As a matter of fact, for the last 10 years, I've rented a house from him. So he's not only my friend and my boss, he's my landlord. So our lives are very intertwined, and our working relationship is really great. We each bring something different to the table. So when he and his partner Roxy named me as the co-host years ago, I was so honored and I was so pleased. Darcel has taught me so much about business. That's when I first came to do drag. I thought it was all just about being pretty and having fun, which it is, but there's also a business side to it if that's the route you decide to take. And I didn't realize that's the route I was choosing, but that's where it is. And here I am 33 years later in drag, having quite a wonderful time in my career. So I learned a lot of business stuff from my friend Darcel, and our shows there are wonderful, and they taught me a lot about people, about, just the different, our show is a little something for everyone. And so for all the years we've been open, we've had all sorts of things come through that front door from all over the world, and it taught me a lot about how to be a person in front of people, and how to be kind, and how to be, sometimes you have to be forgiving, how to be open to people unlike yourself. So it's interesting what we hope the audience will take us for is how we also turn around, and that's how we take them, wanting to be open and kind. So I learned a lot of what I know today and my success from Darcel.
Oh, I want to toast to that right now, Poison.
Oh, let's
the legacy the legacy that you just laid out there and what is listed in the history. So I went to Darcel's a couple of years ago when the documentary Through Darcel's Eyes was playing, and
yeah.
I got to be honest with you. These filmmakers gave me this headset, and I tried to watch the thing. I felt a little seasick, a little weird. Did you see it? Did you do the headset as well?
Yes, no, I did see it. I didn't feel any sickness or uneasiness. I thought it was very cool. Again, being 52, I don't know a lot about technology, and I just, I consider myself old school. So they were talking, we've had several documentarians come through the club over the decades, and Darcel's had many movies created about her, documentaries. The cast has been a part of those. And so we've met a lot of folks. Well, rarely do we actually get to see the finished product. If it's a student project or an indie situation, people come from all over the world to film us and interview us, and then they go off about their business and present their work to the world. Well, we rarely hear about it. So it was really neat to work with Brad Gill, who did the 360.
Yes.
And it was a 360-degree virtual reality. And again, that was something we're like, huh? What do you think? Whatever. We just smiled and did our show and answered our interview questions. And we know that he spent a lot of time with Darcel at his home and the club and out in the cities of Portland, the city streets of Portland. And so when we all saw it, it was kind of like, click, oh, I get it, 360 virtual reality. We were in the movie. It was kind of like all around us. And so what you described, feeling a little kind of seasickness when I would look down. So we're in the club and we're seeing the ceiling and the sides, and then look down and you see the floor. It's kind of, it was a pleasant assault to the senses.
I didn't understand, to be honest with you. So here's the funny part. You were talking about technology. It was my first, and they strap on the headset. So here's the funny part. So I'm watching the movie, and then I thought I heard something to my right. So I turned my head, and then all of a sudden the picture moved, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm such an idiot. You turn your head and the picture moves.
Yeah.
It was trial by fire for me. Trial by fire.
Me too. Me too. I don't even play video games, so I don't know how any of that stuff works, but it was really cool. It got a lot of great notoriety out in the community. I think it was up for a couple of awards in indie
OPB.
Film
it was
festival.
on OPB.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And so so it was great. It was really good, and it's always great to to have that sort of history documented for future folks to learn about what we did at the club.
Thank you. Now, I went to high school here. I don't mind sharing with folks. I went to Rex Putnam High School in Milwaukee, Oregon. I believe you went to, was it Marshall?
I went to Park Rose High School in East County. Yeah.
Very good. Now, it was just after high school when you started to learn your craft and get into
I graduated in 1986 from Park Rose High School in East County. And, back then, of course, being 17, I thought I was the only gay person. I didn't know, I never even heard of a drag queen, so I didn't know any of this stuff. And then being in East County at the time, there wasn't a lot of families of color. And so my sister and I remember we kind of stood out for those reasons. So here I was, gay and black and Mexican and poor. My family was very poor. And then I went to Mount Hood Community College after high school and discovered downtown Portland. And I tell you what, it was the TriMet Max train, I say, saved my life. The TriMet Max had just opened the same year I graduated from high school. And one quick trip on that train right into downtown Portland, and my eyes were opened. A whole new world was open before me. I met all the great kids at the underage club. I started seeing drag.
I think I remember that club.
Say it again.
Was it the one that was in Industrial, like on the other side over by Powell's, or was it the one that was right there down Stark?
No, that I'm talking 3 clubs ago. So there were several. So I'm talking the original City Nightclub was on 13th in Southwest. It's actually, there's a big, beautiful church there off Morrison that has a wonderful garden, takes up a whole corner block. It's a garden with parking underneath. Well, that garden used to be the City Nightclub. And that's where we were underage and we would smoke cloves and drink soda and eat chips and just dance the night away to all the hits of the late 80s. And then it moved, I think about 1989, across the way to 13 Northwest 13th to the Industrial. And then it moved down to Park and Stark. And so I have been a part of all those decades. Now, when you start adding up how many, the locations of the clubs, boy, that shows you I've been around a while, Brandon. So Yeah, starting to discover drag right after high school. It was just kind of like a natural thing. I'd never heard of drag. I'd never thought about it. And then I met all these great people and wonderful folks who did drag, and I saw what was happening. And so it was just the natural progression. It was perfect.
Wow. Now, so it goes without saying that, is your home base Darcel? Because whenever I've looked at your calendar over the last 5 years, unless I'm wrong, you are welcome to totally take this moment. You're the hardest working drag queen in Portland that I know. You
Well,
are. That
people,
is what my impression of you is.
yes, I have been called that, the hardest working drag queen. But I don't know that it's hard work because I love it so much and it comes naturally to me what I do. I love people and sharing my energy with people's energy, and that's what it's all about. And so Darcel's is my home base. I proudly say that. If I'm not somewhere else, I'm at Darcel's. That's where I'm working, I'm hosting, I'm having a wonderful time. I am open to every other offer. I used to say yes. I say yes to everything and figure it out later. I had to start actually looking at my calendar before I started agreeing to things, because I used to just agree to everything and then I'd be like, well, there's only one me, so that's not going to work. But working with Darcel, one of the things he taught me, he's a business person, and he said, hey, if there's a bigger or better opportunity, whether it's exposure, financial, anything that is going to be better for you in the future, then you should absolutely take it. Of course, he always says, I miss you when you're not at the club, but I understand the only reason you're taking a night off from the club is because there's something out there for you to do. So I don't take nights off from the club just to take it off. I'm working, I'm doing something somewhere. And so otherwise I'm there at Darcel's whenever we're open.
Can I ask you a quick question about that? Because I have so many printouts, but one of them says something about a shutdown. Multnomah County is in a second lockdown until further notice. Can you confirm or deny?
We confirm, sadly. So the first quarantine came through the whole state of Oregon. It was mid-March of 2020, and so we were just completely shut down. So we were shut down. The whole state was, every bar and restaurant, nowhere to go, no one to do. So we then reopened mid-June to limited capacity and limited hours. And so what some people don't understand, they don't realize, they think they say, oh gosh, you guys at Darcel's, you should, fight back or stand up, or they can't do this to you. Well, it's not just us, it's literally every bar and restaurant. So we're not taking it personally. We want everyone to be safe. We want everyone to, do what they need to do. And we totally have faith in our government and our governor, and whatever she says, that's what we're going to do. And we want to be able to reopen when we're able to reopen, and we want to welcome back our crowds. When we reopened in June, we were all so excited. It had been about 3 months. Everyone's at home growing whiskers, going stir crazy. We're so glad to be able to put on our drag and do a wonderful show, right? And so even though we could only have half our audience and only have one show instead of two shows, it was really fantastic. We had a new energy and a new excitement to come back to the stage after being gone for 3 months. The audiences were super excited. They'd been going, stir crazy, cabin fever where they were. So we had a wonderful summer and beginning of autumn, Brandon. And then, of course, the second wave hit, so everything got shut down again mid-November. Fortunately, we were able to celebrate Darcel's 90th birthday with a full weekend of shows, and it was really fantastic. So it was really kind of the perfect time to then, okay, now we're going to close again for the holidays in early winter. Word on the street is it could be sooner than later that we reopen. We're very excited. We could do a show in 10 minutes if we had to. We're ready. Yeah. The room has been sanitized, cleaned up. Everything's been repainted. Good. We've definitely taken that time to improve on things at the club, because we never have this time with hours and hours and days, weeks and weeks with nothing going on in there. So we have a wonderful staff, and especially one great fella, Gary, who's been working his fingers to the bone to make it just perfect. So when we reopen, boy, it's going to be something. We're excited.
I did a movie in Darcel's, by the way. It's a little known film from 2002 called Empty Land. And so the funny part was that we had this whole night booked there where we had the club, and I hadn't actually been to the club. So it was a location. But so I'm down in the dressing room, and I'm helping all of our people get ready. And I was the co-director. I'm running 1,000 miles a minute, right? But there was a moment where we were down in the dressing room, and I'm not even joking. I literally just look over, and Darcel is standing outside of her dressing room looking at us, and we're looking back. I don't even remember waving. I just remember Darcel like stepping back into shadows and closing the door. And that was our impression of Darcel for the longest time. Just like the shadow that looked at us and hid in the dressing room. But they were so gracious. Our film shoot was amazing. It was an amazing location. But we had due to coronavirus, some sad losses. Like, I do want to say, you know, rest in peace, CC Slaughters / question mark for a possible future. Maybe
your guess is as good as mine. We're neighbors, and of course we were terribly saddened to find that they were closing. And of course we hope everyone that's had to close during this coronavirus is able to come back, but we don't have any intel. People always think we're holding secrets of all of our neighbors, but we don't know anything. We don't know anything. We know what you know, and gosh, we certainly would. Wouldn't that be fabulous if they could reopen? Yeah, in our neighborhood, we've lost CC Slaughters in the Rainbow Room. We've lost Hobos. There was a little place called Tacos and Tequila, and even Old Town Pizza closed. And our newest neighbor, we knew we had finally arrived in Old Town when Starbucks opened on the corner, and they were there for I think maybe a little over a year, and then unfortunately they closed their doors as well. So it's a tough time in our neighborhood. We're so thankful that we're able to stay open, and we are ready to entertain the masses just as soon as they let us open our doors.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's go to this red note. So it says this, and by the way, this will not be political, but this is about Portland. So a week ago, Forbes put out an article about Portland comparing us to Pompeii. And I'm going to go first. I just want to say, folks, I love Portland, Oregon. I have 31 years of history in Portland, Oregon. It has allowed me to thrive as a musician and filmmaker. Poison, will you refute the fact that Forbes is saying that we're a stinking, smoking hill like Pompeii? Will you refute this, please?
Well, of course, I will refute that. I think Portland is one of the most beautiful cities in the world. I've had the fortunate opportunity to travel and perform all over our country and many places out in the world. And I just always know Portland is home, and Portland's where I want to be. Is it the beautiful, bright, sparkly green city that it was about 10 years ago? No, but no place is exactly how it was, and no place should be exactly how it was. We need to evolve. We need to change. The changes our city has seen over the last several years, they may not have all been pretty or photo worthy, but they're necessary changes we're making in our government, in our social climate, and political climate. And I appreciate all the hard work our elected officials are doing. Again, it's not for us to 100% agree or disagree, because no one ever is going to achieve that. No one's ever going to be able to please everyone. We just have to make up our own mind who we want in these positions and do the research and vote for those people and just trust that they're going to do the best that they can. And I tell people all the time, if you don't like it, then you run, because I know I have wonderful, fond memories of all of our recent mayors in recent history. Every mayor and governor we've had since I've been of voting age. I've had
Vera Katz. Does that include Vera Katz?
Absolutely. And Tom Potter, Sam Adams, Charlie Hales, of course, Mr. Wheeler. So I have had interaction on some level with all of them and our governors as well. And I just think, I know that I couldn't do the job. So who am I to judge the job they're doing? They're obviously doing the best they can. No one goes into politics hoping to fail. In fact, none of us goes into our field of choice hoping to fail. So I think when people are judgmental to others, I think, well, they're not doing it on purpose. They're probably not very happy with themselves either, if they feel the community's not on their side. So that's my little political spiel. But for Old Town, we are doing what we can do. Again, Darcel, tiny little footprint for 54 years, has struggled through worse. I tell you that. So we're hanging in there, and we can hardly wait to reopen.
That's great. I want to ask you about coronavirus and everything virtual. So, for example, this beautiful keyboard behind us right here.
Yeah.
I'm typically a touring musician. This is winter, and this would be when I would be out performing. So I take it that you have also discovered the virtual world, virtual backgrounds, virtual bingo. So tell me about Poison Waters translating into the virtual world and coronavirus. What's your experience been yourself trying to stay alive and relevant and do this through the pandemic?
Sure. Well, it all came to a screeching halt on March 16th. What was supposed to have been my most busiest and financially profitable year.
Oh
That
no.
2020 went to zero with the announcement of everything closing. So I host a lot of big nonprofit galas. I host a lot of for-profit events of all sizes and travel around with different companies and to work in their local markets. All of that went away. So I was down to nothing. And I thought, oh, well, I'm not really one to be down on myself or think negatively. Fortunately, I have a nice living situation. I have a wonderful partner who has full-time employment. And I thought, well, if poison has to go away for a while, well, then we're going to be fine. And I always know there's people out there doing far worse off, and so I have to, not be so worried about what's going on with me, and instead figure out how I can help my other family and friends who may need the help at this time. So I was happy as a clam. March and April, I was just sitting around watching The Real Housewives and eating everything in sight. It was great, and I didn't really give it much thought because I thought, well, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. And a friend decided he wanted to have a Zoom birthday party. Well, I had been invited to a couple of Zoom meetings, and I thought, what is Zoom? I didn't even know what Zoom was. I thought it was, where you go to the doctor when you have an appointment or whatever, Zoom healthcare, whatever. So I didn't know what Zoom was. So
Same.
yeah, I'd never heard of it. So we had a birthday party. He had a birthday party for himself, and he hired me to host Drag Queen Bingo, which I had been doing for over 20 years, Drag Queen Bingo all over Oregon and Washington, excuse me. So I thought, well, I guess we'll try it. I barely know Zoom. I know Bingo, and I certainly know how to be poison water. So let's just try to mix them together. Well, we had so much fun, and it was so rewarding to hear the people laugh and to see their smiles and to feel like I was back doing what I was meant to do. So I just started marketing myself, and it just started with that one birthday bingo. And now we've done almost 300. And we have had audiences,
wow,
people literally all over the world. I've had European audiences. We've had Australian audiences, Canadian audiences, and of course, all over the country, coast to coast. So it's been really exciting to just do, not literally, having to reinvent the wheel. We didn't reinvent the wheel. I just been doing what I've been doing in front of people, but just having to use my imagination because, of course, I'm just in my dining room talking to myself into a laptop. So it's been really great. It's got a great response. Word of mouth is my best advertising, my best promotion. So I appreciate that. It's ongoing, which has been great, keeping me busy. And then also, as I said, I host a lot of nonprofit organizations galas. Well, all of those folks have had to turn to a virtual model. So some of their formats include an MC, so they've welcomed me back, and I've done some of those. And some of them, they are scaling down a bit, so there are some that I'm not doing. But it's been great to use all that I've learned over the last 30 years and bring it into this modern age.
I am so pleased to see that you're so positive and upbeat about everything. I know that there's been so much loss, so much challenges, financial despair. The people are concerned about getting the virus. That stuff is really scary. But I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a question or two about television. So,
Television.
for example, it's been like almost 30 years since I was on Portland's AM Northwest. So, folks, there were national shows. I'll just give you the overview. AM Northwest is ABC's Portland morning show. It's like our local affiliate. It was totally different host when I was on Poison, but I have seen you on here several times with a Miss Helen Raptis. Please tell us about KATU, Helen Raptis, and your relationship and how you ended up being on TV yourself.
Sure. So AM Northwest is, for decades and decades and decades, been the most popular morning show. And I even was on it when I was in high school. They used to have a studio audience, and they would invite groups in that had something to promote, kind of like a free commercial. So my high school marching band, we would be having a car wash or a trip to Disneyland, or we were going to sell something for a trip to Canada or something. Well, I remember being on there in high school. We held up our little signs, and they do a little mini interview and talk to us. So that was my first foray into the local morning television network shows. So I did that. And then I feel like in my work, the first time I was on, I think as a guest, so the first time I was on as a guest was with Cascade AIDS Project. We used to have big Halloween gala parties in the 90s, raising funds, and they had some drag queens on there to do a little plug for that. And I wasn't really as well known, and I certainly didn't really have connections with the networks. And then I had worked for years, and I still do, with Saga City Media, who runs Portland Monthly Magazine here in Portland. And we were hosting a big event at Saks Fifth Avenue, and they had asked me to host the dating game, that good old-fashioned game show, the dating game. And so we did that. Well, so then they said, well, let's do a mini quick version of the dating game on AM Northwest. And so I did that. And then I just had so much fun, and I feel like I don't remember specifically how I came to be like a recurring person, but I certainly don't mind it. I love it. I remember for several Halloweens, they'd call and say, hey, come on, and we're going to do, Halloween party things, and you can help judge the costume contest of whomever we have on the studio set. What do you call the Academy Awards? Sorry, I almost said the Golden Globes. The Academy Awards, when it's Oscar time, they would bring myself on, and we would talk about fashions and who wore what the best and who wore it the worst. And so that really kind of is how that started. I think my natural chemistry and my natural friendship with Helen Raptis just makes us so, it's weird. Again, talking about, work not feeling like work, we're just gabbing away. Before you know it, our whole segment's over. And we're like, oh my gosh, how did that go so quick? Because we have such a good time. It's a wonderful program.
I think they're great. And so what I was going for is I just want the viewers and the listeners to know that very pro LGBTQ plus, very, very, very. And so I think it's so cool that you have so much. So I'm going to insert some pictures, by the way, and then we have a clip. But as far as TriMet buses, you were on the side of some TriMet buses, like, in Carrie Bradshaw, the whole beginning of Sex and the City, that bus goes by and then someone dumps a puddle on her. You have a billboard on the side of some buses right now. That's Carrie Bradshaw-esque. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so right now I'm proud and honored to be part of TriMet's Wear a Mask on Public Transit campaign. So Portland is, they say keep Portland weird, and we certainly have a lot of different mascots, and I'm part of a group called Weird Portland United that is founded by the Unipiper, our wonderful Darth Vader flaming bagpipe unicycle rider. So we often get invited to do the same thing. So the TriMet folks put together a fabulous campaign using local Portland I call us Portland mascots, and different folks to do a little quick 30-second commercial that they aired on the television programs in the morning, throughout the day, and then of course on social media. Well, mine got so much attention. It was so fun, and it just said, don't be a drag, wear a mask while on transit and out in the community. And then I put the mask on, and then I hop on a bus and wave away. Anyway, so then they wanted to expand the campaign. So they chose a few of us to put us on the sides of buses. So there's big buses riding down with my big face on it. And then they even expanded it further to the bus benches at sort of bus stops around town. So
you're on one in my town. You were on a bus bench right here in Milwaukee, Oregon.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. I get pictures all the time from people sending it to me on my social media saying, I saw your bus or I saw your bench. And I just think that's great. I love it. I'm fortunate that I have working relationships with every of our major local networks. And I've done, stints or gigs or promos or something for all of them, with all of them. So I have, I know in some media markets it's kind of, dog eat dog, but I have a fabulous relationship with all of them, and I appreciate that so much. And working with TriMet has been really, really fantastic. And this is actually not my first time on the side of a bus, Brandon. I also work with a wonderful group called Peacock Productions, and for years we had Peacock in the Park, a big outdoor festival that was a fundraiser for a scholarship fund, and we would work with TriMet. They were one of our media sponsors, and they would give us a great deal on signage. And so I would be on the back of the bus or the side of the bus, and people all the time were so thrilled to say they saw me going down the highway.
Now, refresh me. Did Peacock in the Park, has that legacy ended, or was that paused due to coronavirus?
No, it's so interesting. We had made the tough decision. I'm one of the honorary board members. We made the tough decision in February of last year to disband the event Peacock in the Park, but of course continue the nonprofit aspect of it, which is the Audria M. Edwards Scholarship Fund. And so we're continuing that. We're going to put all of our funds towards the scholarship fund and not producing a really expensive event. So we announced that in February, and of course people were sad, but everyone knew it was the financially responsible way to go. Well, then who would have known 4 weeks later, the coronavirus really hit everything and the governor shut everything down. So we would have had to have canceled our event anyway, and in fact probably be out lots and thousands of dollars, because by that point we would have already spent money on permits and contracts and deposits and all that stuff. So yeah, we pulled the plug before Corona had the opportunity, but so thank goodness.
Oh, I'm sad about that. I'm sorry. So we're going to play a clip here. It's going to be virtual. You and I won't see it right now, but this is Poison Waters joins TriMet to keep riders healthy and informed. It's about 1 minute. Let's check it out.
First of all, if I'm covering up half of my beautiful face, you know that I'm taking a stand here. Today we're handing out masks to riders who do not have one or maybe want one for a little later in the day. And we're also educating them on how to wear them properly. Not everybody knows you need to wear it over both ears, over your nose and mouth. Wearing a mask is so important as we're all coming from our different homes and works and bubbles. And so when you're riding public transit, you're around people that you don't know where they are, they don't know where you are. And the easiest way to make sure everybody remains safe is to wear a mask. It's super simple, but not everybody has access to masks. So handing out masks here at the transit center is so smart, and it's so easy for our riders to have this access and acknowledgement that the masks are important to TriMet, to the riders and their staff.
Okay, and we are back. So I saw this clip with you. It looks like it was back on January 25th. I thought this was so cool because they have the shots of you actually on Max's handing out masks. I have a mask here. You were handing out masks. I'm a TriMet rider. I'll just be honest with you. And I've seen everything. I've seen everything from like people, it's below the nose, it's above the nose. This is the one that I like, Poison. I've discovered this KN95 myself, but I think a lot of experts are saying if it's a mask, it's a mask. We just want people to start with masking.
Yeah.
The better the mask, the better. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It's a good place to start. And adding on to their campaign of having, our local mascots, celebrities, if you will, participating in the program, encouraging the community to wear masks. I was out one afternoon and we had tons of masks, and TriMet actually was doing a 3-week mask blitz, if you will, and they had staff on the buses, at the bus stops, at all the transit centers, handing out masks to people who weren't wearing them, educating riders who were wearing them incorrectly to let them know, to put the loops over both ears, to cover the nose, to cover the mouth, and then they've also stocked the buses and trains with hand sanitizer and masks. So part of the responsibility was to let people know where they could get masks and sanitizer if they needed it. I was surprised. People were really, really well prepared. I was at one of the busier transit centers at the Rosa Quarter there, and I only handed out, I think maybe less than 5 masks. People had them. Only a few people had them wrong, and as the train would pull up and they'd see me, and I would just make the gesture of pulling up the mask, and they would do it right away. They're like, "Oh, we're in trouble." I'm not a fare inspector, but I'm worse. I'm a drag queen with a mission. So I was on that train, and I would hand out masks to people and encourage them to wear them correctly. So it was great.
It's necessary for all of our health and sanity. And folks, as you probably get push alerts and headlines, there's lots of good news. There's the expansion of the vaccines, and I don't know when you and I will personally. We're probably gonna have to wait a few months to get this, but this virtual thing is so cool. In wrap up, our guest today has been Poison Waters, and you are so delightful. I would love to give you a chance for Plugorama. I have printouts here of your different schedules, and you are busy. You also, before I forget, Shout Out is a new publication from Marty Davis, who used to do Just Out. Are you working on Shout Out? Is that correct?
I am. We're introducing the community to a new drag entertainer every week. So I've had the opportunity to meet tons of drag performers in the Pacific Northwest over my career. And so we thought this was a good opportunity, since there aren't a lot of shows, and opportunity for our community to get to know these performers. if we highlight one with a little easy Q&A mini interview that I've held with now, I think I got almost 30 of them ready to go, and we're providing one a week, and this opportunity for these performers to get to introduce themselves to the community, maybe some who've gone away and came back, a reintroduction, and it's been really fun. It's really enjoyable. I love Marty, and I've always loved Just Out, and I'm so glad to have something in this virtual capacity in the digital world to present to our community to share with everyone.
Good on you. Good on you. Please, Plugorama, where can folks find you online?
Well, that's the question, isn't it, Brandon? So I'm literally everywhere at all times. I always suggest people follow me on Facebook. I'm on all social media, Twitter, Instagram, and I try to post everything for sure on Facebook, and then I try to share it on the others. So check me out there. And of course, my website, poisonwaters.com, is a totally free website, age appropriate for all family members. And it really has a great calendar. And that's really, I tell people,
Exactly.
Go to my calendar and you could see everything that you didn't even want to know, where I was going to be and what I'm going to do. And it's really important for when event folks are trying to schedule me, I suggest they go to the calendar first, and then they can see where I'm available. As far as plugging, this year, I have to be so thankful and appreciative. I've gotten to participate already in this short time of this new year in some really unique, wonderful programs. I have been the inspiration of a new piece to be performed this spring by Body Box, our local dance company. They have chosen different members of the community to come in and participate in what they call the Pearl Dive project. And so that would mean I'm coming in and I'm taking a dive into the unknown because I don't know anything about dance or choreography. And then I'm going deep in with them for a couple of weeks. And then we come out with a beautiful pearl. And they have done the most beautiful job creating this dance. And of course, because of the COVID, we're not able to present it in person. So we're actually going in studio next week and we're going to film it. And it's so beautiful. Nice. I can't wait for them to share it. It's really fantastic. Then shout out, of course, reached out to me. So I'm doing that, which I'm glad to be part of a weekly presentation there. And also Portland Community College. Their community education program is thriving, and I'm going to present a 3-week course on the history of drag in Portland. We're going to do 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. I've been working hard on it. I'm really excited to present it. The first week will be the 60s and 70s, and the second week will be the 80s and 90s, and the third and final week will be the 2000s. So it's really going to highlight key moments in the drag culture in our city and the state of Oregon throughout all the decades, and I'll have videos and pictures, and it's going to be really, I'm excited for that. We're going to be releasing all that information, I think, next month. It's going to be where people can sign up and participate. It's been really fun. So working in, the education system, doing that sort of stuff, it's really neat. There's some virtual COVID-friendly type stuff coming up that we're working with Darcels that I actually am not allowed to speak on yet, contractually obligated to keep my mouth shut. But trust me, people always say, hey, when will we know if something's going on? I'm like, Darcel has taught me well. I will be screaming it from the mountaintops the minute, because we want everyone to know everything. We want everyone to know every opportunity they have to enjoy us at Darcel 15 and Company. And I just am going to continue doing virtual drag queen bingo for all the companies around the world that want to unite their employees and their teams, organizations who want to reward their volunteers, and families and friends who are celebrating birthdays, bachelorettes, all of that. So it's been really fun.
Life does go on during all of this.
It sure does. It sure does. So talking with wonderful folks like you, Brandon, it's really been an honor and pleasure to spend some time with you today. And I appreciate you reaching out.
I appreciate you. And last question, your legacy is so rich. And let me just ask you about the folks between the charity work, AIDS activism, everything that you've done. If I was to ask you to quantify, what does the work of Poison Waters, like, has it touched hearts and minds? Has it impacted people? If I was to ask you, what's the impact on other people's lives, what would you say, Poison?
Well, I like to hope I'm leading by example, and I work with children all the way up to seniors and all the different organizations that I'm a part of. And so I'm hoping that people will just take what I'm giving and then present it as their own. So I always try to meet people where they are. I try not to be judgmental. If I'm being open and accepting and honest with everyone I come in contact with, I hope that they will even subconsciously just absorb that and then present that for themselves while they're out in the community.
It has been a joy speaking with you, folks. Our guest today has been Poison Waters, and you were delightful. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. I look forward to seeing you in real life someday very soon.
It's a date.
All
Cheers.
right. Take care. Bye.